What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Fans Podcast FC. This is episode 35. Adam is back on the show, but then we're missing Will. Will's going to be back in any moment, potentially, so we'll see. He's going to join mid-show. But yeah, Adam, how are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling good. I've been busy with work. I got a new crown, so I'm all set with nice new teeth. So,
new tooth.
I guess, might as well take this opportunity to give a quick PSA to everybody. Go to the dentist.
Yeah,
I know it's scary,
exactly.
but they do right by you. They do right by you. They did a good job for me. I barely felt a thing. Healed up well.
Yeah, if you live in a first world country, you have no excuse. But go to the doctor.
For real, honestly. Like I went out of insurance and it was still relatively affordable because
it's not that
cared.
Expensive.
Because I cared.
Mind you,
all the insurance that I had, was dog shit. So yeah, for those of you not in the USA, it's very, very easy to have dog shit insurance, and I get insurance through my job. So the health is pretty, it's decent. Dental, dog shit. So it's either go to a dentist that absolutely needs patience or go to a good one. And I went to a good one because I needed my whole tooth drilled, so don't want to mess around with that. So go to the dentist, and then you won't have to take 3 or 4 weeks off of a podcast. Well, that's partly work too, but that's another story. We're not going to get into that,
but
big boy stuff.
You know what we're going to get into? We're going to talk some Euro footy. Last week, we pretty much stayed on the Western Hemisphere, talked strictly CONCACAF almost the entire time. But today, like we promised, we're going to go over the big European competition and the biggest one that there is in the world, only behind the World Cup and say maybe the Euros. Obviously, the biggest club competition in that is the UEFA Champions League. This year is a brand new format with an added 4 teams, I believe. It's up to 36. I want to say I can't
something
think of
like
exactly.
that. I can't count
a couple
because
extra teams.
The way they show you is stupid.
Yeah, I want to say there's an extra 4 teams,
pods.
And the group phase is officially gone. It is a now table, basically a Super League, essentially the same concept that UEFA trashed on the Super League 4. They're essentially kind of bringing it into their own way, because I think at the end of the day, they did think this is not a bad idea, and there's going to be a lot of money and big matchups. And let's be real, I think a lot of people that hated this change, I think they just dislike change. You're hating something before you've even seen how it plays out. I mean, shit, people were trashing it before we even saw the draw. I think now that the draw has come in and we're seeing the matchups and who's playing who, now people are like, oh, okay, I get it. And but speaking of that, let's get into it. I'll get your thoughts first, Adam. What are your thoughts on the brand new Champions League format?
All right. So I want to start by, and anybody who's watching this, who has played this game, knows, has experience, is ready for this format. And I'm talking about my fellow Football Manager players on the PC. If you've played Football Manager, then you have played plenty of seasons with the new format already and kind of got a feel for how it's going to work out. So I almost feel like I'm cheating a little bit. I've seen this play out. I've simulated this multiple times.
Shit.
And I will say that I love the new format. I think that if you're going to go they're copying the Super League route. Maybe they were pushed to make this change earlier because of the Super League. But let's be honest, this is going to get you some pretty good matchups right off the bat. It's not to say that group stage matchups in Champions League were boring. There was plenty of good matchups and plenty
Half of them were boring.
Yeah, but there was still plenty of good matchups. But the thing is now is you are putting everybody in the same group. You're saying, okay, the best teams are going to get through and the worst teams are not. That's what they're going for here. They're not going for 2 teams getting out, 1 person getting grouped, in 3rd place and then another going home. You're getting a very interesting type of format where pretty much anybody can play anybody. And you're all going to be in the same league table. So I think what this has led to is giving us a lot more high profile matchups early on. And yes, there's more matches in the league phase. They call it. It's no longer the group stage. So we're not gonna. That's gonna take some getting used to. No more saying, "Hey, the group stage of Champions League is starting." It's gonna be the league phase of Champions League because that's what it is. You watch Premier League, you watch La Liga, you watch Bundesliga. It's a league format. Everybody plays everybody, which Champions League
It
can't
is
really
the
do,
Champions
obviously.
League.
Yeah, obviously they're not going to have a home and away for every team. That's just absolutely ridiculous. There's already enough games as it is. I already think that with the expansion of more teams, more games, it's very iffy because that's always been a very big topic. And I'm curious to, after you give your thoughts on the new format, I'm curious of what you think about what seems to be more and more matches being added onto the schedule and no more breaks, no larger squad sizes. Really, the only difference between now and a few years ago is you can make 5 substitutions instead of 3. I think that's something that's going to be, unfortunately, it's going to take some big injuries to have people change their mind. I think that's the big negative. Is there's just already so many games in each season. You're just adding more on top of that, more teams. Now, granted, it's great for the fans, but it's already been a discussion. So I just feel like they're making it worse. So if you want to pick one negative for that, for the league phase, the new league phase, that would be my one negative. But overall, I think it's going to be a positive change for everybody.
Yeah, personally, like I said, as a fan, I love it. I think it was way better. I always thought the group stage was a little flawed. I thought there was always better ways that you could go about doing this. And I honestly think this is a really great way. I think it brings us level of competition that's really based on merit and not luck. Obviously, some paths are easier than others, but I will say, and me and Adam were talking about this for the game started, not the game, but the podcast started, was that it's pretty well balanced. Like, I mean, the algorithm is pretty good. Like, there's not real like, and we're gonna
Yeah, it
talk
did a
about
good
it and get
job.
into who has the toughest schedule. But I will say, looking at it, it was kind of hard to find the toughest schedule, and it's honestly really hard to find the easiest schedule. It's pretty damn like they did a really good job with this. And quite honestly, I rather you play more teams and different teams than playing the same team home and away. Because let's use the City group last year, for example. I mean, City absolutely dominated that group. They had such an easy layup group. I can't even remember who was in it, to be honest with you. I want to say it was Young Boys, Belgrade, and another team. I think Shakhtar. No, Shakhtar was in the Barca. I can't remember. It was something
It's
like
close.
that.
You're close enough. Let's put it like that. It sounds
And
very familiar, so I'll give you the credit for that.
and it made it just not worth watching these City games. Like I was like, unless you're a fan of one of those teams, like you don't really care to watch those. But if you're coming in as a neutral, or or even if you're a City fan, like you want to play those tougher games. And I think this brings an element where like literally everything matters because you're never locked in. Because now you got to get into the top 8 to, like you said, get that break. And the one negative you have to pull back is, yes, there's going to be more games for the teams that have to play in that playoff round to get in, which I believe is only going to be one extra game because I think it's the playoff round's a knockout game. So I think for those teams, you're only adding one more game, I want to say. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that is. I think if you're only going to be playing one more game, if you're going to do the playoff round, and then you get seeded based on wherever, which I actually think that's a lot better than having to draw every single round, because now you have a league standings that you can go based off of to now properly seed. So now you're really rewarding the teams who did really well in their league phase, because now they're going to have a better path all the way through. Even though, look, once you get into the bracket and the knockout rounds, anybody can beat anybody, I feel like, especially when you're looking at this. The only downside I could possibly say is that maybe it's just a little too many teams. But obviously, money plays a factor. You're going to want to put in as many of these high-profile teams as much as possible. Like, I honestly can't think of one high-profile team that's not in this tournament. Like, I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously, you're missing some like Chelsea. You're missing
Yeah, but they've been dog shit.
You're missing like a Man United. Like those are probably like genuinely like, in no disrespect to like other teams out there, those are like really the only major like big name teams that I can think of that are in this tournament. It seems like everybody else is in here for the most part, unless I'm forgetting someone, which I probably am. But nonetheless,
well, an easy way to look at it is to look at some teams that are in Europa League. You have, and I guess England's probably the easiest one to look at. You have
Chelsea's
Manchester
in Conference
United.
League.
You have Manchester United and Tottenham both in the Europa League. You have I'm trying to think here. I mean, some of these are a lot of sixth place teams in leagues that aren't as good. Shit,
Or their top
Lyon
teams.
had a fucking bounce back. We need to talk about that one of these days. Wow. They came in sixth last year? Where was I? Holy shit. Lyon, for those of you who don't know, Lyon were having... They had a period of time where they had a viral video of their ultras talking to their players and basically ripping them a new asshole. Telling them that they need to fucking earn the right to wear the badge. And it was probably one of the most moving things ever. You really felt the passion for those. No, really, like I'm not even joking.
I know.
Like that was a crazy moment to see them like have the mic and those players are just standing there together, arm in arm, listening to them and letting the fans tell them that they need to fucking step up. They were relegation candidates. To see them in the Europa League, I'll give them credit for that. That's a small aside. You got your Fenerbahces who are in also in the Europa League.
And mind you, all these different all these different competitions are also
Porto,
doing this
Galatasaray.
league. They're all doing this league format as well. I do know that you can get bounced down to the Europa League and Champions League, and I think you can get bounced down from Europa League to Conference League. I know in qualifications you can, because one of the teams I was following, because of my international players, were in Europa League qualifications and they lost, and now they're in Conference League. But yeah, so let's go. So we talked about our format, what I thought of it. I think me and you both are really excited to see it, and honestly like the new format a lot.
In general,
so we're gonna do this
change.
thing. We're gonna give 3 matchups that we like to see. Obviously, there's countless of great matchups that I'm looking at now, but we're gonna organize this based off a top tier matchup, like a contender matchup between like the teams that are favorites to win them. Then we're going to do like a dark horse matchup, like teams who could potentially win if they go on a run or make it to a final, at least similar to like what Dortmund did last year and Inter did the year before. So that kind of mid-tier matchup. And then like a lower-ish competitive team. Like these are teams that they're probably not going to make a deep run. It's possible they can, but they're competitive teams. They're going to play well. So Adam, hit me off with your top like contender matchup that you want to see and you're really excited to watch, and I'll give mine.
Man, there's so many of them. So I'm gonna, and you guys might talk shit about my mid-tier, saying, hey, that's not mid-tier, but let's be real. If you're comparing it, it is mid-tier. So I'm gonna go.
This is your top tier?
This is gonna be my top tier. And I'm gonna go with, and this might be an obvious one, so I do want to, like we said, there are plenty of matchups that we're missing. So if there's something that we're not talking about, definitely mention it in the comments, because there's just so many. So it's definitely worth mentioning your favorite matchup if we didn't mention it. But my top is got to be.
Hold up. What's up, boys?
Oh my goodness gracious!
All right, Will, just to update you, Adam's about to give it. So we've already started the podcast. We're 15 minutes in.
All right,
Will,
what's going on?
Adam is giving us his top. So we're basically breaking down the top 3 matchups that we are excited to see. There's there's levels to it though. So a matchup between contenders that like top level teams. Then we're going to do matchup between dark horses, kind of mid-level,
or
like
perennial contenders,
kind of like a, let's say like a Dortmund that made it to the final, or like an Inter that made it to something like that. And then a lower tier matchup that we think is like really good. So Adam, give us your top tier.
All right, let's get it.
Yes, so I'm going to go with, and like I said, might be obvious, but I don't care because I think these are two very interesting teams that are different. Definitely different than in past years. Real Madrid versus Liverpool. Liverpool, now they may have a new coach, but Real Madrid have a new front man, and his name is Kylian Mbappe. And I kind of like how Liverpool have looked. Now, I think if I had to take a guess in the Prem, I think they're actually going to stay the same as they were last year, a third place team. I think they're just quality wise slightly below Arsenal and City. But they've been very good. They have players like Mo Salah who have been there and done that. They show up in Champions League. So even if they're a third place team in the Prem, they will show up in Champions League, and so does Real Madrid. Even when they're a meme team, they show up in the Champions League and somehow, always make runs. So that is a matchup. I feel like if one team can dominate the other, that is surely gonna make a statement. So, do you want to also go through your top tiers?
Yeah, I'll go mine too.
Okay.
So I hate to be boring, but honestly, like, I'm with you one-on-one. And if I'm gonna give an honorable mention too. But yeah, obviously this is the 2022 Champions League final rematch, Liverpool versus Real Madrid. This is going to be at Liverpool. I'm really curious to see how this lines up. I mean, you're having basically two top teams in the respective leagues, in the top two leagues in the world. This is a matchup we haven't seen in a while. I would say this Real Madrid team is a completely different team. Like I said, you're getting a Mo Salah back, who's been kind of like he was battling injuries throughout the season last year. So like, I am super pumped to see this matchup. I want to see this again. I haven't seen it in a while. I thought the first matchup back in 2022 was a little underwhelming. So I'm honestly super pumped to see this again. And then as for my honorable mention, it's the game before that for Real Madrid, which is the Champions League final rematch, Real Madrid versus BVP. God, I'm butchered.
Say the name.
Borussia
Dortmund.
Yeah.
Dortmund. So I am pumped to see basically a rematch from the jump. And that's something that, I mean, when's the last time we've seen that? Like, that's been a while. So we're basically getting back-to-back Champions League final rematches in this Real Madrid schedule. And look, man, we potentially talk about it later, but like, Real Madrid has been looking a little shaky. Looks like they're not able to like really connect well. Bro, everybody's playing on the left side of the pitch, which is exactly what I called when this is going to start up. Everybody was drifting over there. They got a draw against Mallorca. They got a draw against Valladolid. Like, let's see what happens when they go into Champions League, if they can fix this. I'm really excited to see these first two matches out of Real Madrid straight off the gate, because this is going to be pretty damn interesting. But let's bounce over to you, Will. What's like your big headline matchup that you want to see?
So we're doing three. We're doing headline, second up,
kind of, and then like a perennial contender. Like if they perform well, you could see them making a run.
Yeah, give us your top right now. Yeah. Give us your big headline matchup.
Most excited matchup, top teams.
Obviously it's easy to go with the layup and go with, and I want to say it as well, the Real Madrid-Liverpool matchup, I think that's going to be crazy. And if I'm not wrong, that's played at Anfield, right, guys?
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah. So that's the toss-up. But like I said, I'm going to go different. I don't want to go with the layup answer. I have to say, though, this City, Inter Milan, which is another layup answer, but that matchup is going to be – I'm excited to see this back front of City. And honestly, your boy Lautaro Martinez, Julian, I think this is I think he's going to eat away. Hey, he's repping it. He's got the jersey. Dude, I want to see how Pep Guardiola is going to have to – he's a masterclass, probably the best coach right now in the world. What is he going to do to plan to keep Lautaro under control? So I think that's a good matchup.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good shout because obviously that's a rematch too. I mean, we're talking about rematch. We all picked rematches from 2 years ago, and that was a game where I thought Inter should have won. Honestly, I thought Inter had City on the ropes. Lukaku fucking choked that game for them, like basically played goalkeeper. And I thought the way that Inter's been playing the past 2 seasons has been honestly, there's just so high paced, fast, quick, off the counter. They are the best counterattacking team in the world right now with the way that they're moving. And then, like I said, depending on how the form that they're going in and based off what I've seen so far, dude, it's going to be a really interesting matchup because now there you had Lukaku and Lautaro back then and 2 years ago. Now you're adding a Marcus Thuram, who was last year played out of his mind, and that top two between him and Lautaro was really good. So yeah, that's a good shout. Honestly, that's a really good matchup. I'm excited to see that as well. That's going to be at City, so at Manchester. So yeah. All right, Adam, give us your mid tier.
I'm glad you mentioned Inter. I really am, because they are part of my mid-tier or perennial favorite matchup. That's why I want to call it perennial favorite, because there really are so many good teams in here that even though there's teams that you might think one-on-one would beat them, they can make the run. And Inter is one of those teams that I have in there. So the game that I have highlighted is going to be Arsenal at Milan, Inter Milan.
Ooh,
I think that's actually going to be a big game.
That's a classic.
You have an Arsenal team that finally made it back to the Champions League last year after so many years with just either Europa League or nothing. They really took City to the last match day. This is a different Arsenal team, a team that last year, for those of you who've been watching this podcast, you know that I was saying, hey, I will not believe it until the season's over and they have the trophy in their hands. And that's because you needed to see proof that they can't choke and that they can actually fight in a championship battle. They proved that. They made it back to the Champions League last season. So now the question is, can they keep up that fight in the Premier League, and can they turn that success and bring it into the Champions League and start making waves there?
Yeah.
So I feel like their first game is going to be at home against Paris. Paris has always been Paris in the Champions League. They also don't have Mbappe anymore. They're just not the same team. So I feel like that at Inter matchup is really going to be the key. Inter, like you guys just mentioned, they're a very good team. They're very good on the counter. So it's going to be one of those matchups where Arsenal are going to have the possession. Inter are going to be looking to counter. So it's going to be very fascinating. It's going to be very entertaining to watch. And I feel like a team that dominates that game is going to put themselves in contention to be a favorite for the Champions League.
And dude, I mean, we're naming the two up top, but you also got DiMarco and Baston.
Yeah.
Like, God, the team is just so good. Barella,
really good.
It's so good, and I really hate to hit Inter 3 times in a row. And I promise, I'm not an Inter fan. I just like the jersey. But
while he's wearing a jersey,
I'm being so serious. But I gotta go Inter Milan versus Leverkusen.
That's a good game. Yeah,
I think is a really, really good matchup. I'm curious to see how Xabi is going to play against Inter style. And mind you, as we're talking, Inter just finished their game today against Atalanta, which is a Champions League team, 4-0 just now.
Wow.
A brace by Marcus Thuram, a goal by Barea, and then it was an own goal. So
crazy,
man. It's I'm curious how well. I'm really excited to see this. I think, especially now seeing this matchup with Atalanta beating Leverkusen in that Europa League final last year. And granted, Atalanta is not necessarily the same team. They've kind of fallen off a little bit. I mean, we saw it in the Supercopa and stuff against Real Madrid. But I think Leverkusen and Xabi, they're going to enter the Champions League. They're basically running it back with the entire squad, like So seeing them go up against the Inter squad that's also essentially running back, this is an Inter squad. I think that they feel like they can win this whole damn thing, and that they thought last year they just had a bad luck of the draw because the ghost ball lifted up on Lautaro and the Pens against Atleti. So I'm really excited to see Leverkusen against one of these perennial Champions League teams and how they match up. So I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. Not to copy Adam, I got to go with an Arsenal matchup as well. And thinking mid-tier, kind of mid-table, obviously, if I'm not wrong, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is it top 8 move on, they skip automatically to playoffs and go into the round
top
of 16?
Top 8 automatically in, and then below that, it's I think the 16 below that, playoff round,
and then everybody else eliminated.
Then the bottom, I think 4 just are eliminated. I don't think anybody goes to Europa League.
No,
except until the knockout round, or at all. Okay. I'm not sure.
I'm not too sure, but I got to go with a matchup that I think is going to be a critical top 8. 2 themes, like I said, Arsenal 1, the other being Atalanta. That Atalanta versus Arsenal game, I genuinely feel has the potential not only to be a team, both teams to qualify for both the top 8, but 2 teams outside of pot 1s looking to reach into that pot 1 to say so. You know what I mean? And I think it's if I'm not wrong, it's a mid-table kind of game. It's going to be played around October. Adam, if I'm not wrong, that is going to be at Emirates, if I believe so.
No, it's at Atalanta.
Okay, it's at Atalanta. So listen, Arsenal, their big thing is going and playing outside of and obviously
Liverpool
on
lost.
Paper, Liverpool lost to Atalanta in the Europa League quarters to these guys. Obviously the eventual champions, but that's the thing though. Arsenal at home at the Emirates, obviously a different team on paper. This is a better team than Atalanta. Good team. I did see they're losing Musso, their goalkeeper. Looks like he's going to leave. Obviously, they still have Adeola Lookman and other guys on the team for Atalanta. But, this could be these mid-table teams, and this is why I really feel like this is going to be a key. And I feel like this will be a very remarkable matchup that could honestly change the tide for both of these teams. One of these teams is to come away with 3 points, very easily could send them in that top 8 contender spot.
So you're thinking of like an upset on Arsenal?
Upset, or to be honest, it could be vice versa. It's a two-sided sword. I could see if Atalanta get that upset, they're going to keep striding forward. But I could also see Arsenal, because right now they're looking outside of the top 8, in my perspective. I think they're right there. I think they're 10-11, just off of a basis of opinion. Looking at squad depth, looking at squad rosters, coaching, and all that stuff, and their home record.
Striker.
It's hard to trust in Kai Havertz, but listen, they're growing. I think Mikel Arteta he's cooking something up. He has been cooking something up these past seasons. So I think it's going to be a good game, and I'm excited to see those 2 play.
All right, Adam, give us, I hate to say low tier, but give us your competitive matchup against 2, it's just a good matchup. It may not be for big title contenders, and potentially even they might get knocked out in the playoff round, but this is just a good matchup that you're excited to see.
Yeah, I hope I'm not wrong about this one. I really, really hope I'm not wrong about this one, because this is kind of one of those matchups that can either be very, very interesting or very, very boring. I feel like there's not going to be in between on this one, but I'm just curious to see how these 2 teams match up. So I'm going to go with an interesting one here, just for fun. I'm going to go with Aston Villa traveling to Leipzig. Unai Emery's got experience. Okay. So even if the team's not a top team and he really dragged them to Champions League last season, they, like I said, it's Champions League, anything can happen, and he can set that team up in an interesting way in Germany against a Leipzig team who's definitely not the best in Germany. It'll just be, I just feel like it could be either a very, very boring matchup or, 0-0 or a high-flying matchup. And I hope it's high-flying, and I think it will be. So I'm just going to pick that one because I'm interested. I'm curious to see who would come on top of that one.
Okay, for me, and honestly, after seeing the results, and I feel like we're picking so many Serie A teams, but I'm just curious to see because I wonder when was the last, if this has ever been a matchup, when was the last time it happened? Stuttgart versus Atalanta.
Okay.
This is a Stuttgart team that flew under the radar. No one was talking about them because of all the hype around Leverkusen and how the undefeated season and all this. And it's like, meanwhile, you had a Stuttgart team that got third place. Like, that is crazy. And no one talked about it at all. And I'm like, this is a really underrated team right now that people are sleeping on. I think they're going to produce some upsets, but I do think this Atalanta game is going to be a pretty evenly set match. And I'm really curious to see how well they play against each other. It could be one of those absolute snooze fests because, based off what I just saw against Inter. But then again, Inter's a different upper echelon of Stuttgart. I think this is going to be a pretty even matchup, and it's something different that we don't see all the time. And that's really what I was going for in this type of category for matchups. Is something you don't see every day. And I thought a Stuttgart versus Atalanta was really interesting, and I want to see how that plays out. And I believe it's going to be the final game, so it might be very important. Yeah, it is. It's the final game, and it's going to be at Stuttgart. So that might be a very important game for one of these guys because potentially they could be on the outside looking in. Because let's be real, none of these teams both of them, they're not going to get into the top 8, but they might be on that bottom of the playoff bracket of like fighting to stay in or not. So I think it's going to be really interesting. Yeah. It's almost like a relegation battle.
Honestly. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. I got to go kind of like with you. Now I'm not picking another Serie A team, but I am picking Julian's. I'm not picking Bologna or nothing like that. But listen, I got to go Julian's team. And I just wanted a quick shout out. I don't know if you already shouted out your boy, Julian. I know Adam's already had a bunch of Polish guys. I'm proud to Panamanian Puma Rodriguez representing Red Star Belgrade, and then Cesar Blackman, who were representing in the right back position Slovan Bratislava. 2 Panamanians, obviously Mitchell representing Feyenoord and whatnot from the Netherlands. But listen, I think a big matchup, and everybody in Panama has already been going wild about this one. And this is kind of one of those teams as well. Red Star Belgrade, they're not obviously realistically, they're not going to compete for a top 8 position, but they could be kind of in that top 24. That's what they're trying to crack, trying to barely reach if they can just get into that playoff position. That first game against Barcelona in Serbia in Belgrade, that's just going to be nights out. That's going to be amazing. We got Puma Rodriguez versus Lamine Yamal before we got GTA 6. So let's get ready. Let's get hyped for it. You know what I mean? I'm excited. I'm ready to see this matchup. I'm excited to see my guy compete. This is obviously the first time in Panamanian history we've ever had guys competing in the Champions League. So it'll be exciting. It'll be fun. So we're ready.
I will say too, and I understand the international attachment to it, but even so, like Belgrade is like one of those atmospheres in world football that is fucking insane.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Seeing Barca play there is going to be actually pretty interesting because when I saw City play there last year, it was pretty wild. So I think it's going to be a rock. And hey, for all you know, it could be a sleeper matchup. But Barca's looking pretty damn good to start out the season, and we'll see as time goes on, obviously, because it's a later in the. Oh no, you said it's the first one. So
I believe.
Yeah. So as for the next category, those are our top 3 matchups that we're all interested in from a variety of reasons. Now we're going to go into who has the toughest schedule, who's going through the toughest ringer of it. Adams and I are going to start first. Will, while you get a chance to kind of look at that and take a browse and get your thoughts. But Adam, give us who you think has an absolute uphill battle of trying to get out of this.
I was telling Julian before the podcast started, I said, you might not pick the same one that I pick, but you sure as hell better agree with it. Because it's tough. And if you don't think that it's tough, I'll make it clear in my specifics when I go through the matchups. But Dinamo Zagreb is going to have a rough one.
Oh my God, yeah. This is gonna be bad.
Let me pull this up.
Dinamo Zagreb. Yeah, pull it up for the folks so I can
Yeah.
point out some of these matchups and explain to
Dortmund.
you exactly. Well, some of them don't really need explaining. Dynamo Zagreb in Croatia are going to have to play Dortmund, Bayern Munich, AC Milan, Arsenal, Celtic, Salzburg, and Monaco. Then, congratulations, you guys made it through the 7 fucking most difficult games you could possibly think of for your club. You get to finally play Bratislava. Wow. Jesus Christ. I feel like that's just insane. That is 7 losses and 1 game that they have a chance in. I mean, Dortmund's going to absolutely destroy them. Bayern's going to absolutely destroy them. Milan's going to absolutely destroy them. Arsenal's going to absolutely destroy them. Celtic, it's not going to be a destruction, but they're going to be the better team. Salzburg is definitely the better team. Monaco is definitely the better team. And then you got the question mark in Bratislava.
Look, man, I wouldn't sleep on Celtic. I will say I do feel that these Scottish teams, Celtic and Rangers, they've really, really been struggling in Champions League as of recent.
Yeah.
And I would say I wouldn't completely knock that Celtic game out of like saying that's a win for Celtic, because I think at least the performances of it recently, there's been a drop from what we've seen from Celtic and Rangers. But let me get into mine. I like mine a little bit more, Adam. So I'll start off with my honorable, because I had one, and I still feel like I should bring it up, but then I changed it to something harder. So I'm going to start off with the one that I originally went with, Benfica. And I'll pull it here. Benfica has Barcelona, Bayern, Atleti, Juventus, Feyenoord, Belgrade, Bologna, and Monaco. There's not a single layup in there. Yours, you have Bratislava, which obviously, look, anybody can win. But, bro, even that Belgrade game, that's a tough game. And that's away at Belgrade. If it was at home, I would say Benfica, I would like them a lot. But the fact that you're away at Belgrade, oh, man. But now I found one even tougher. And I'm going here, and I have faith in the boys. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it at? Here it is, right here. Bologna.
Oh, my God.
Obviously, I'm taking the level of Bologna into consideration. You have Dortmund, Liverpool, Shakhtar Donetsk, Benfica, Lille, Sporting CP, Monaco, Aston Villa. So I would say Benfica has more high-profile names, but I think in terms of just like level to level, that is a pretty damn tough. The only one you can kind of say that you feel good about is that Shakhtar Donetsk game, because you're playing that at home. But man, all those other games are going to be uphill battles. I mean, you're talking about top teams in each one of their respective leagues. This isn't like some fifth place team that's squeaking in. Like, but out of those two, I'm curious, Adam and Will, which one do you think was actually harder? Because I have between two. Because I gave two. Which one of those two you think was more difficult?
I would say, personally, I feel like the Benfica one's a little tougher. They're going up against a bit higher profile teams. Like, yes, Bologna has Dortmund and Liverpool, but Benfica's got Barca, Bayern, Atleti, Juventus. And then they got the Feyenoord, the Red Stars, the Bolognas, and the Monacos. So that's going to be tough for them. I personally think it's a bit tougher, but I think that they're both very, very, very good shouts.
Yeah. All right, Will, give us your toughest schedule. Which team is going through the ringer?
Yeah, I kind of I got two real quick ones. I got one that I was just looking at, and I was looking at Slovens, obviously, to look at who they're playing. I want to hear, I'm kind of curious to hear what both of you guys got to say on this. I don't think this is an easy schedule. Obviously, it's the freaking Champions League. You're not going to be playing seventh division teams in San Marino, so it's not going to be an easy ass competition. But here we go: City at home, Bayern away, AC Milan home, Atletico Madrid away, Dinamo Zagreb home, Celtic away, Stuttgart home, and Girona away. Listen, that's not the ringer, but that's pretty damn close to going through the freaking ringer. Like, I mean, obviously, and I am taking into expert as well the level, like you were saying, Julian.
Yeah, they might be the worst team in the entire tournament. One of the worst teams in the entire tournament.
Arguably. Oh yeah. And that was kind of like, the layup answer, obviously at their level and quality. But looking at a team in pot 3, that this team they're genuinely going to look to make it not just the playoff. They might try to crack even higher than that. This is a team that also has Kylian Mbappe's little brother at the moment, Ethan Mbappe. We got to look at Lille, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Feyenoord, Sporting, Sturm Graz, and Bologna. Listen, Sturm Graz is the layup, obviously. That's kind of the one that you would think Lille should win. They're at home. Shouldn't be that bad of a game. But Sporting, Feyenoord, Atletico, I wouldn't be shocked if they lose 7 games, to be just very blunt with you. I would not be shocked.
I think I like Lille. I like Lille at Feyenoord personally. And I think I like them away at Sporting. Like, I think I like them on those 2 matchups. The Bologna matchup is tough.
Yeah.
That might make or break you playing away at Bologna. I think that's going to make or break Lille.
Yeah. But they've got a tough subject. They've got a really, really tough subject to come up to face these teams. I think, honestly, especially for these pot 3s and even kind of these, Aston Villas and Bolognas and pot 4s, I think realistically overall, these are tough games for all these teams. For a lot of these teams, Aston Villa, this being their first time in the Champions League, this is where boys become men. This is not a joke. The Premier League's hard. Obviously the Bundesliga, the Serie A, we talk about all these the best leagues in the world, but the UEFA Champions League and this format to be able to say, oh, you know what? I play Bayern away, but now I'm going to play them at home, at the Emirates or at Anfield or wherever it is the case may be. But to now say, oh yeah, we're going to play them at Villa Park and that's it. And now we got to go next week to France. We got to go play PSG. This is just, I think this competition, I hate to say this, but I think these little dog teams are really going to get, I don't want to say abused, but I think it's going to show. And I think the quality will come on display, from these high teams.
I see what you mean, because it's like sometimes you can just have that group where you just have one powerhouse. So then somebody kind of squeaks in that second place that maybe wasn't as good. But since you weren't here for the segment, I do want to get your thoughts, because I agree with you 100%. And we named the toughest, but quite honestly, we thought about putting who has the easiest schedule, but no one really, I can't differentiate, because the algorithm that they used was honestly spot on. It's honestly, it's giving you the matchups you want to see. Every game matters. You don't have to play this 2-leg affair where you kind of have to play this 180 minutes and kind of get these tactics together based on what happened. It's now all right, you lost that, whatever, let's move on. Let's go to the next game. A true league format. I mean, it is called the Champions League, and this the first time it's really being brought into a true league format that I can remember, at least. But I did want to get your thoughts on it as a whole. Me and Adam both are, just to let you know, really like the new format. The only thing that we gave our one negative about is maybe it might be a tad too many teams, and there's an extra week of games because now you have that playoff round. But outside of that, for the most part, me and him both like it. We think it was a response to what happened with the Super League, and essentially they just made their own Super League. So, but what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'll keep it quick with you guys. Like you guys both said, in a sense, listen, real quick with Super League, respectfully, fuck Super League. Glad that never happened. That would have been an absolute, I mean, that's just going to kill football. I think football's for the fans. Football's for us. It's people like Adam, Julian, myself, other people watching this podcast. It's for us. It's for us to enjoy and for the players to go out and succeed and be great. and make the game that we love and that we adore so much, to create that type of league. I will say, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not so much on board with you guys. I do like the addition of more teams. Listen, for me, it's not really a format thing. Well, no, in a sense it is. I'm an old school. I'm a conservative guy. I can't even lie, to myself. It's not that I don't like it. I will say, though, I did really, really like a lot after the group stage in the past tournaments, the past formats. After group stage, third place teams, you go down. You could either go Europa League or Conference League. I love that. I thought that was incredible. That's completely gotten rid of now. There is no more of that. If you get knocked out in this league phase now, you're completely gone. So,
well, me and Adam were actually going to ask you that because we couldn't remember. I don't know if Adam looked it up. If you lose in the round of 16, are you going into the knockouts of Europa? Is that still a thing? Like, because obviously I know you just the playoff round and then you get knocked out immediately. But I couldn't remember if Europa League is allowing in people who get knocked out in the round of 16, because Europa League also added more players or more teams as well. And I believe Conference it is also. So I don't think they need them to get knocked back into it. So, but you're saying that they didn't. Yeah. Like, it's completely separate. It's just qualifiers. Because I know qualifiers, you can get knocked down a league.
Yeah.
If you didn't qualify.
Right. And that's exactly what happened with like Galatasaray, Fenerbahce. RIP to the Turkish team. Shout out to my boy Jeff. You guys did not do the best here, but you know what? We'll see what they can do in Europa League. But yeah, no, real quick, I'm not the biggest hater of it. I know some fans out there are still like, this sucks. I freaking hate this. I don't like this. What is this format? It's BS. Listen, I kind of completely agree with you, Julian. I think Cristiano Ronaldo, I don't know if he had a touch of God on him or whatever it was at the draw.
He is God.
Listen, listen, the thing is, like, there was so much like just balance, and I think that was the biggest worry from people that were hating on it. And it didn't come out like that. It wasn't this unbalanced, Real Madrid have to play Slovan Bratislava 3 times and Stromgaz 4 times, so it was this balanced for the most part. But like I said, I still like the group stage. I'm old school. I like the format of it. If you get third place, you get knocked down. It just kind of, for me personally, it felt like there was a drive. That is my only worry with it, with this league phase. Just for instance, Stromgraz lose their first 4 games. They get absolutely obliterated. Goal differential for them is like -35. These guys don't even know what they're freaking playing for. You lose hope. You really lose hope. You don't even want to play. When in reality, when it was the group stage, it was, you know what? We're 2 points away from third place. F it. We need to still fight right now. We need to get into the Europa League. So,
well, I would say to counter your point is I feel like it gives those teams more of a chance to stay competitive, because I think for a lot of it, if you did lose those first 4 games in the group stage, those next 4, like, it's almost like it doesn't matter what you do, you're not coming back. At least now you can lose those last 4, but if you can win 3 out of the last 4, you can squeak into that low 20, like 21, 22, 23, 24. Because now I like how it's kind of turned it into almost a relegation zone, which is essentially what it is. And now, instead of getting bounced into the Europa League, you're still in this thing. You have a playoff round, and now you're playing knockout football where anybody can win in that playoff round. And then you go into the home versus away again. Is it home versus away? It is, right? Am I crazy?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
It's one-off knockout based off standings?
Actually, you're talking about the knockout. Okay, never mind.
I think it is home and away. I believe so.
I think it's still home and away. I think it's still 2-legged.
Probably.
I hope so.
I think it is, yeah.
The playoff, I believe, is just a knockout, but I might be wrong on that too. Either way, the general point is just like, I see what you mean with the group stage. My only thing is, what I like with this is I feel like the teams, because every game now matters, versus like when you looked at City, like you could clinch like 5-6 games in. Those final 2 games didn't even matter. Or like last year, you had that Real Sociedad and Inter Milan group where they just basically ran the fucking table on that game, and it wasn't even close. I like now too that you're this phase, this new league phase, the games matter too, because now you have standings, you have seedings that now, okay, we're going into the knockout rounds, now what you did in that league phase matters versus the group stage. It's almost like a clean slate. It doesn't even matter. Now you get into draws or whatever it might be. Now it's like, all right, we played well in the league phase. We're going to have a good route. We're going to have home advantage by having home the second leg. I kind of like that because now there's a little bit more of a rewarding, and then there's complete randomization, like certain teams getting luckier than others and whatever. I feel like now it's really merit-based.
Yeah.
Like, I know not everybody's gonna like it, but the one thing for sure is we haven't seen it yet. Time might change once we actually watch. One thing I know for sure is when this was first announced, like the day of, people were flipping out, losing their mind, going crazy. And I'm like, bro, we haven't even seen the draw yet. And now we saw the draw. And I've seen a lot of people change their tune or just be like, okay, let me see. And I was like, yeah, bro, just let it play out. Let's see. Let it go a year. Let's see what happens. And right now I'm enjoying it. So, but yeah, so we want to get into also, let's move to the next topic. That is, I know this is going to be tough. This is going to be really tough to go over, but we're going to do the player of the tournament predictions. So obviously this is going to have to be a team that makes a run and goes deep. And this is going to be a player that's absolutely going to go off the entire time. We're going to start off with you, Adam. Do you got a player in mind?
Here we go. Erling Haaland.
Oh, wow.
Walks away. All right, Julian, what do you got? Who's going to be it?
I don't want to be a basic bitch.
Wait. I want to hear Adam's. Adam, what's your?
There's really
what
not much more
on this.
I think he's going to be healthy this year. I don't think he's actually going to be missing a bunch of games. And City are going to make a run, and he's just a goal machine. So even if they don't win it, the amount of goals that he's going to score is just, it's not fair, man. It's either going to be him or Mbappe, but I really think that Mbappe has to work a little bit to get into that team and get used to it, whereas Haaland's, he's been there for a few years now. I know it's an easy question, kind of, but what do you want from me? That's what I got.
All right. So I got two in mind, and they're both young guys, and I'm leaning towards the one. So
he's going to say Lamine Yamal. I don't know.
I'm going to say Lamine Yamal. Bro, first off, when you look at his performance, this entire run through the Spain Euros was absolutely incredible. The guy's been absolutely balling. And then I'm also looking at these games that we can see, because obviously this league phase is where you're going to start racking shit up. Like, this is where you build your stats. And I'm looking at this Barca schedule, man. You got Bayern, Dortmund, Atalanta, Benfica, Young Boys, Belgrade, Brest, Monaco. Outside of the Bayern and Dortmund game, these are games I can see Barca just running up the score. And now you got Dani Olmo, who just absolutely balled out in that first game. In his first debut, scored. Lewandowski looks like a man on a fucking mission. I think now Barca with Hansi Flick is starting to like really. You wish you could have got that Nico Williams transfer, because that would have really added to it.
Holy shit, dude.
The only thing is, can they stay healthy and all that? And can they go on a good run? I think this is going to be a year for Barca where they actually start to play better. I know I sound like a homer, but here's my other one, so you can't say that I'm not. And I might be completely fucking wrong, because this is a real like crapshoot. I could be completely wrong or completely right. I'm going Julian Alvarez from Atleti, because this is a guy. This is going to be his team. Alvaro Morata is gone. He's at AC Milan now. This is his team. Looks like Griezmann is staying. You still got the boys behind you, DePaul and Koke. Now, the only concern is that Atleti defense, how well they can hold up, because they were extremely leaky last year. We'll see as the season progresses if they're going to play better. But also looking at this league phase, you have Leipzig, you have PSG without Mbappe, and potentially now the Ugarte. You have Leverkusen, Benfica, Lille, Salzburg, Bratislava, and then Sparta Praha. That's a very favorable schedule for Atleti. I think that's a team that could easily get into the top 10. Top 8. And I think this is a potential for him to play really well and really stand out. So those are my. I couldn't give one. I couldn't pick one. So those are my two.
Yeah. Hey, two quick guys. Also, listen, another guy from City, not early Holland. Let's go with the little demon himself, Phil Foden, bro.
Phil Foden.
Never a bad shout.
Great and incredible.
Except
ball.
for England.
Okay, let's not go there yet. Not today.
With the
not
three
today.
lines. He doesn't put out. Obviously, this past Euros was a little bit different. A little bit harder for him. But he's already off to a good start within the season. I think he's just gonna. I think he obviously in Champions League, seeing Phil Foden play, but when they went on that run to go win a couple years ago and beat Inter Milan, I mean, he was incredible. Listen, another young kid I got to shout out. This is a team. They're in it again. Bayern Leverkusen. Florian Wirtz had I would say a really, really good tournament with Germany over the Euros. Obviously, kind of disappointing, made it to the quarterfinals, but still, Florian Wirtz, obviously, he's a kind of another guy I see in a way similar to Phil Foden. He just puts on that jersey. When he puts on that club kit, he's a different player. Florian Wirtz is and I feel like the UEFA Champions League is almost kind of built for him in his attacking style, his mentality of almost that German mentality of just go get. And looking at Leverkusen's schedule, obviously it's not the most favorable route. It's no perfect route, but Inter Milan, Liverpool, Milan, AC again, Atletico, but Red Bull Salzburg, Sparta Prague, Brest, Feyenoord. I very easily could see coming out of this league phase, Florian Wirtz scoring over 10 plus goals. It wouldn't be mission impossible for him. So,
he was actually on my list too. I was really thinking of him. I was thinking of him a lot. Do you got any honorable mentions? Another name you want to throw out there?
Hey, Puma Rodriguez. No, I'm like that. Gosh, dude, if he scores a goal, I'll go crazy. That'd be amazing. Listen, honestly, maybe this is a kind of a piss in the shout. Maybe I'm just shouting out Adam real quick. Leandro Trossard. This guy just seems to find goals like out of nowhere. I mean, I saw that Aston Villa game, not this past weekend, but the weekend
his
before.
Mentality. It's his mentality. He's very professional. If he's benched, he's gonna prove you wrong.
Gets pissed off.
And say this is why you didn't want to bench. This is why you shouldn't bench me.
Yeah,
he's great. You gotta, and that's another conversation for another day. But Jesus Christ, how lucky did Arsenal get by Chelsea swooping in and offering all that money for Mudryk and basically forcing Arsenal to go to their backup choice, which was Trossard.
Yeah.
Wow.
And dude, when he scores goals, he literally is like the Carlo Ancelotti, but in player form. He's just kind of like, whatever, I do it, But listen, that's probably my piss in the wind would be Leandro Trossard. See what he can do. If Arsenal can make a run, he's going to be vital for him. So,
Adam, you got an honorable mention? You want to throw outside of Holland?
Outside of Holland, you know what? I'm gonna have to agree with Will with Florian Wirtz. I think that was such a great shot. I mean, the guy, his market value is over 100 million. Mm-hmm. He is just that's basically like it is a fact because that is what has been said explicitly. It says, hey, if you want him, you better come with over $100 million or else he's not going anywhere. I mean, he's quite a talent. He's still young. Very good shout, and I'll definitely give him my honorable mention.
All right. I want to say my final honorable mention.
Who's yours, Julian? Yeah.
I'm going the man, the myth, the legend.
Jalen Mitchell.
That is Harry Kane.
Ooh, good shout.
I'm going Harry Kane. I think Bayern is going to go on a run. I think Harry Kane is so tired of people constantly shitting on him for not winning a chip. I don't know if Bayern wins it. I think obviously they're a contender. But even if they don't win it all, Harry Kane is going to, based off what we saw last year, this man is going to rake it in. I really feel it. I think he's got a good support system around. I think Musiala's on a fucking tear lately, and having him feed him, I think Bayern's going to look pretty good this year. I think Harry Kane's going to eat. I think he's going to get 10 plus goals. I could in Champions League play. I would hope so, but I think he is. I think, and then if you look at the Bayern schedule, you got PSG, Barca, Benfica, Shakhtar Donetsk, Dinamo, Feyenoord, Bratislava, Aston Villa. PSG is not who they were. I mean, PSG. I don't know. PSG still looks fucking great. Like, I was watching them play. I think the Ligue 1 is still good. I think it's going to be more competitive than we've seen in recent years because PSG has lost some players. And I think Marseille is getting really good, but we can talk about that later. Mm-hmm. But the Barca game is going to be tough, obviously. But I like them in this Benfica, Shakhtar, Dinamo, Feyenoord, Bratislava, Aston Villa. Like, he can fucking rake it in on those teams. And then let alone what happens in the knockout rounds, which I'm sure they're going to make the top 8. I think they're a shoe-in. So yeah, I'm gonna throw in the guy Harry Kane. You know, I feel bad for him, but I also don't. But I think, gosh, like just get this man a pokal or something.
Dude, life is just not on his side, bro. It is just not. You got to feel for him, but also at the same time, I mean, it's the game we play. So,
I don't feel bad for him. He chose Tottenham. Yeah. That's what you get. You inherit the failure.
But anyways, let's end it off here. Any final thoughts, Adam?
Well,
I just want to say, it'll be a quick little discussion we can talk about.
I do want to just say it's good to be back.
Adam, do you want to tell the people what update on the molars, or what was it, the canine?
Oh, it's the furthest molar. It's the full. Yeah. Give the people a little rundown. It is. I don't think you could see it. Let me see here.
No, we're good. We're good.
Looks good. Not bad. But yeah, it's the furthest molar in the back. Basically, long story short, for those of you who missed the beginning, if you don't go to the dentist and you got a cavity, eventually that shit's gonna chip. So go to the dentist.
That's true.
But they did a good job, fixed me up nice. Feels exactly like a regular tooth, eating on it. So back to normal.
True.
I'm gonna say my final thought is I just want to say I was completely right about the Mbappe transfer to Real Madrid. I told you it's going to struggle at first. Wow. Yeah. Everybody's gonna crowd. Everybody's crowding that left side like there's no. Danny Carvajal's got a whole fucking football field over there on the right side. He can play his own 5v5 game over there. So I just want to say I was right. We'll see if Ancelotti can work his magic and figure out a way to make it work. But they're gonna have to play with some sort of fluidity because, like I said, I do not think Mbappe is a striker. That is not his role. They try to put him there. I just don't think that's him. He plays best on the left. Look at him when he's with France. That's when he's at his best, is when he's at France, and he's on the left side.
Yep.
And we'll see how well this works out. And what's his Endrick got his first goal.
Yep.
For Real Madrid. So yeah, we'll see. I'm really curious about the Real Madrid saga as it plays out throughout the season of this year. But Will, give us any final thought or discussion that you want to bring up.
I got one question for you real quick, actually, Julian, because you're a Barca fan.
All right.
Okay.
I talked a lot of shit about Spain having Yamal in there at his age,
and you're wrong. Yeah.
I still disagree with those people. I will maintain that I was correct the entire time. That team was very good.
Yeah, they just won a chip. They just
that team was stacked, and they were bound to make the final at least without him.
No,
whatever. Talk shit if you want.
No, Adam, come on. No one had Spain as the favorites.
What do you mean? Nobody had Spain as the favorites. What do you mean? I feel like people
did not have Spain as a.
I don't know.
Obviously,
I heard
Spain was a possibility. Like, don't get me wrong, it's Spain at the end of the day. But like everybody went in there knowing it was England and France.
I mean, yes,
like
England and France. I agree with that, but I don't think that you could be discounting Spain. But let me just get.
They were a good third or fourth.
I was looking at the lineup for the Barca game the other day, and I noticed they had not one, not two, but three 17-year-olds in the starting lineup. One was Yamal. One was, I don't even remember, in the midfield, and another one was was a center back standing next to. And I thought this was very interesting. Next to his center back pairing, 33 years old. So a full Jesus Christ.
That's crazy.
mean, that is that the guy could almost be his father. I don't know. One, okay, let's be real now. You can make that argument, and it worked out for Spain, and Yamal had a very, very good tournament. He was the player of the tournament in Spain.
Nico was 19.
Yeah. So, I talked a lot of shit about experience, and the truth is that you absolutely can get away with a young player in your team, but can you get away with three that are that young in all phases of the play? How do you feel about that? You feel like that's Barca just
dog, bro?
Do you feel like that Barca stacked with talent and they can do that, or do you feel like Barca just has no choice and they got to do that?
Hey, defend Barca, Julian. Defend them. You got to say.
Also too, like you said, the teenagers, but then you also got to think like Gavi, Pedri, Balde. Yeah. Like these are all guys that are really young, early 20s, like 21, 22. Yeah, Lewandowski, fucking
Rafinha.
Jordi
Lewandowski's just getting into his prime.
No, even Dani Olmo, he's like what, 21, 22. So no, honestly, Adam, to be frank, if this was any other team, yeah, I would agree with you 100%. But you're talking about Barcelona, who has produced some of the greatest talent the sport's ever seen. La Masia is hands down regarded as the best academy in the world. I think it's a little bit of both. I think, yes, they have to out of necessity because of payroll and money. But I also think if there's any team that can get away with that, it's Barcelona. And look, Lamine Yamal is turning out to be probably eventually the best player in the world at some point in his career. These guys are different, dude. Like, I mean, these guys are different. Like, I don't know. Like, look, there's some guys I think need more cooking in the oven. Like, I think Kubarsi needs more time. I think Fermin needs more time. But you also are kind of hamstrung. And honestly, from what I've seen from these boys, they look better than what I've seen from Christensen. De Jong is hurt like every week, it seems like. I don't know what fuck. That dude needs to drink some milk because I don't understand how he is constantly injured. I'm so over here. I'm kind of on the same board with Pedri. Like, Jesus, like when it gets a point where it's like, dude, like what is going on? How are you always injured?
This is different though. Tony Cruz tried to murder the kid on the field. So
yeah, but even before that, dude's always hurt. Like he's just always hurt. But I'm over the De Jong thing. I'm fucking over it. Like the dude is constantly hurt. Like I'm so done with him. But yeah, man, I think the only problem with Barca right now is that hole in the left wing, because I don't think Rafinha's a left wing. Fernan Torres is terrible. But like you said, I know you worry about some of these guys, but these guys have been playing in Champions. Like, yes, they're young, but they played all last year and some of the year before that in Champions League ball. Like Kubarsi pocketed Mbappe last year for periods of the game. These guys got experience. Now, I think obviously this is a different tournament. You're going to be facing more high quality competition as time goes on. So, like, I don't think Barca's I don't think they're a favorite. I think they can make it to the knockout rounds and potentially a quarterfinal, but that's where I see them kind of crashing and burning for the time being. But it doesn't necessarily bother me either. I think in the league play, they can go on a run, and I think they could win, though. I think they're going to win this season. I think Real Madrid is still trying to figure out what they're doing versus Barca already understands. It seems like Hansi Flick did a really great job of installing his system and knowing like how to work with these guys. I think, and then look, he's reinvigorated Lewandowski, dude. Like, I mean,
yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, we definitely wanted to get your thoughts on that. Will, you got anything else?
Yeah, just wrap it up. Hey, shout out to our guys from CONCACAF. All of our guys playing Jonathan David with Lille. Obviously, Fonzie David, Christian Pulisic, Yunus Musa. Timothy Weah, even though I don't like Tim Weah. Fuck Tim Weah. As a Panama fan. But listen, best of luck to him. Luis Palma representing Honduras. Jalen Mitchell with Costa Rica. And like I said earlier on the pod, my two boys from Panama, Puma Rodriguez with Red Star Belgrade, and then Cesar Blackman with Slovan Bratislava. So shout out to those boys. Go represent our region well and put some respect on our name, dude, because we earn it and we deserve it. So
real quick, Adam, do you have any players in the Champions League? Like, I'm not even trying to like fuck with you. Like, I'm being dead. Like, I mean,
what do you mean?
Obviously Lewandowski.
Robert Lewandowski. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but he's retired. Is he retired?
Matty Cash, isn't he playing right?
Lewandowski, not yet. So
he's not retired
the person
yet.
that you're thinking of, actually, that's a good thing. Good shout. Gotta shout out the legendary career from the brick wall, the Great Wall of Poland, Wojciech Szczęsny, or as
the border of Poland.
You guys, or as you English folks know him as Szczęsny. Wow, what a career he's had. I mean, seriously, he's not only had such a great career for club, but internationally, it's as good as he was for Juventus. When he put on that Poland jersey, something else just something awoke in him. Some of the games that he had, some of his best games of his entire career, were wearing a Poland jersey. The games that he single-handedly won for us. I think the greatest memory has to be the game that he played against Germany. We had never beaten Germany in any professional capacity in a competitive match before in men's soccer, and that was such a big game in the qualifier. The man had just watched those highlights, man. I mean, seriously, watch those highlights. It was one of his best games of his career. He went on something else. Germany was dominating the possession.
When was this? And I'm not even trying to make fun. Adam, when was that game? Is that like a qualifier?
It was a qualifier.
We got Adam out here with nostalgia. We're talking about
I know those moments though. I feel that though.
No.
I believe
dude, those moments are always great.
Yeah. Hey, Keylor Navas, dude. I mean that's a legend.
2014, dude. Yeah. I mean,
it was around like 2013, 2014-ish. Something somewhere around there. But yeah, it was a Euro qualifier, and they had two big goals in the second half, and it was one of the most symbolic victories that Poland has ever had, and it would not have happened. I'm telling you right now, watch those highlights. It is insane how cracked he was in that game, and that was not the only game he had for Poland. So I think that's a good shout out. Actually, now you bring up Poland. The big man behind the goalposts is hanging it up, and I got to give a big shout out to him. We've had a Champions League winner in years, Jerzy Dudek, for Liverpool, and yet this man was the greatest goalie we've ever had.
There's not any outside of Lewandowski. There's not any other current players you're interested.
So Napoli, if Napoli is not in it, then
no.
Then that misses out on a few. I mean, the most excited. Oh my God, relax. I'd say the most excited I am for an Arsenal player, even though he doesn't start for them week in and week out, is Kivior. He is very good on the ball. He's very solid. He's at his young age. He's already been playing very well for Poland. So I'm excited for him.
He might
still
get some
very young
on some.
He plays.
Like lower.
He plays. So I'm very excited for him too. I think his career is going to be fun, and even if he doesn't play for Arsenal his entire career, he's going to have a good one.
Zielinski at Inter Milan. He might get some games.
Oh yeah, that's right. So Zielinski, yeah, he left. That's right. So yeah, so Zielinski, because I was thinking Napoli, but that's right. He's still he moved on. So that'll be interesting.
Give that spark to.
I like Sebastian Szymański, even though he's at Fener, so that's technically Europa League. But yeah, there's some players out there. Not as many as there used to be. We've definitely had some better years out there.
Hey, more than Julian and me, bro. Bro, we got a combined of 3, dog. Hey, Julian, real quick to end the pod out, though. How much playing time do you think Jalen Mitchell? What do you think to all our CR fans that watch out there in Champions League, not outside, not in the Everdacy and whatnot, but Champions League? Do you think he'll get any playing time?
Nah. I mean, I think the only way he gets playing time if the games, like, I think if they're knocked out, and I don't know if Feyenoord. I think Feyenoord is going to be pretty competitive. I think they might make a playoff round.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, last year Feyenoord did play Pepe, so, and he barely played at all for them throughout the league play. So, but he scored a goal in Champions League. So, I mean, it's possible. I think he's been on the bench the past 2 games, so you never know with injuries and like the way games are being played out. You might get a red card. I think they're not going to put him in that situation yet. But we'll see. I mean, maybe he might earn his spot the first half of this season, like in October, November, and you're like, all right, we got to play this kid, and he's playing well, and now he's playing against Girona or Lille. Then possibly. But I would say the odds are probably not, and if he does, it's going to be like late game, trying to close out games, or somebody's injured or whatever. I would be kind of surprised. I mean, I'd be kind of sorry, but I'm okay with letting him cook. I mean, dude's only 19, so and he's making a pretty big jump. He's making a pretty. I mean, to go from the Costa Rican League to the Champions League is it's a pretty big tall ask. I mean, he did play extremely well in the Copa America, which is why he got that move. I mean, he did pocket Vinny, so that's impressive in and of itself. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, it'd be cool though. It would be pretty cool. We do got guys in Conference League, so yeah. But yeah, I think we can end it off right there. I want to thank everybody for listening and making it to the end of the pod. I thought it was a pretty good episode. Talk straight Euro footy today. I think we need to catch up and go over Champions League. I think I speak for all of us in saying that Champions League, we're all very excited and happy to get into it. We even got our own fantasy league where we're going to be doing some Champions League fantasy and talking about that. I think it's a good way, especially with this new format, to get involved and learn about some and really do some research on some of these players. We're like, shit, we need to make some space. Like, we need to get some guys in here. So we're going to have to be looking at Bratislava and who's going to get a goal or a double assist, because just to get them points, we have to do some research. But anyways, yeah, you know where to find us. If you are on audio, find us on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, find us on audio and all the audio platforms where you get our podcast, as well as all the social media. We got things cooking up potentially for the Instagram and stuff. We're going to start being more active on there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.